On the day of the selection, I accidentally soiled noble consort Shu's dance skirt. She looked pitiful. Your Majesty, you must not see her. You must not take her as a consort. The whole world knew she bore a striking resemblance to the one His Majesty could never find. The moment she cried, his heart softened. Pei Lin smiled wryly and said, "Then I shall marry her off." A decree was issued. I became the Princess of Su. Being a legitimate wife was better than being a concubine. I was content. But soon, at an imperial banquet, when I thanked the emperor alongside the Prince of Su, the sovereign uncharacteristically lost his composure. Before leaving the palace, the Empress Doward specifically summoned me. I was her niece, a noble daughter of the Chu clan. Half a month ago, she had promised me the position of noble consort. She looked at me and sighed, "You have always been frail. You were raised by the medicine king in Bianzhou for 13 years. Your parents felt wrong for you, so they begged me to arrange this future for you." The emperor had nodded in agreement at first. But now, Pei Lin, for the sake of noble consort Shu, insisted on sending me out of the palace. I knelt in the hall and couldn't help but ask, is noble consort Shu really that favored? The Empress Dowager was silent for a moment, then only said, "The emperor cherishes her, treating her as his wife." Even among the sons of ordinary officials, it was common to have concubines and chambermaids, yet in the depths of this palace, surrounded by countless stunning beauties, he treated consort Shu as his true wife. I thought for a moment, then asked, "Your Majesty, didn't you say I could choose one of the princes as my husband?" The Empress Dowager nodded. "Prince Jing has met you before, and he is both talented and handsome. After hearing of this matter, he specifically came to the palace, saying he is deeply devoted to you. What do you think?" At this point, I had no room to refuse. I was about to express my gratitude when a gentle, pleasant voice suddenly came from outside. "Matters of marriage also depend on fate. I specially had a set of fortune sticks made. Why don't Miss Chu give them a shake? Whichever name comes out, that will be your husband." The newcomer was consort Shu, Su Jinhua. Dressed in magnificent robes, she looked down at me from above, smiled lightly, and said, "This is also His Majesty's wish." As her words fell, the Empress Dowager frowned but ultimately said nothing more. After all, she was not the emperor's birth mother. I had no choice but to take the fortune stick container, gave it a gentle shake, and a stick fell to the ground. Su Jinhua bent down to pick it up, and upon seeing the name on it, she first showed surprise. Then he gave me an ambiguous look and said, "It's Prince Su." At these words, even the Empress Dowager raised her eyes and glanced over. Changfeng. I had grown up in Bianzhou and knew little about these people, nor did I understand why they reacted that way when mentioning Prince Su. But no matter what, my marriage was thus settled. As I left Sinang Palace, I breathed a sigh of relief. Actually, not entering the palace was a good thing. That dance skirt wasn't stained by me at all, but Su Jinhua was favored by the emperor, so whatever she said was taken as truth. I had no way to defend myself. If it were always like this, wouldn't I be wronged for life? Amidst the willow branches and spring breeze, past pavilions and tiled eaves, I walked along the palace path. Halfway, I saw an imperial palanquin approaching in the distance. I paused and stepped aside, bowing in greeting. With my head lowered, I couldn't see the person's face, but I heard his voice, as cold as striking jade. "You are Chu Sanyang?" Seeing this, the eunuch beside him whispered, "Miss Chu, why don't you lift your head and reply?" I had met this eunuch twice before when I entered the palace, and to get better meals, I had given him a few ingots of gold. Considering there was some past connection, his action was also out of fear that I might not know proper etiquette and offend Pei Lin. Upon hearing this, I was about to lift my head, but Pei Lin said, "No need." Only then did I remember. He had promised Su Jinhua that he would not see me. I said, "Yes." Just then, a light breeze stirred, and he said, "I heard you are from Bianzhou. I wish to inquire about someone." I was taken aback. I had thought that the first time he spoke to me, he might either take offense on behalf of his consort Shu and blame me, or else tell me to rest easy in my upcoming marriage, to be a proper Princess Su. But I never expected that the question he asked would be such. Just as I was about to speak, a voice came, "Your Majesty, you came looking for me. You clearly promised you wouldn't see her." Pei Lin chuckled softly, seeming somewhat resigned. I only asked her a question. I don't care. You must punish her. How to punish? Su Jinue's robe hem stopped before me. I clenched my palms. The next moment, I heard her say, let her kneel here for an hour. All around fell silent for a while. After a long while, the emperor spoke, as you wish. When I returned, I could barely walk steadily. My mother looked at the bruises on my knees and angrily smashed a teacup. I accidentally let it slip. I thought you bore some resemblance to Consort Shu and might also resemble His Majesty's beloved. But it turns out His Majesty didn't fancy you. Seems you're not as close a match as Consort Shu. But they don't know that on the day of the imperial selection, Pei Lin never even got a chance to see me before Su Jinue came crying, saying I'd stained her dancing gown. What does that mean? Who is that person? It's a girl His Majesty encountered in Bianzhou years ago. If she were here, even the Queen's position would be within easy reach. But unfortunately, His Majesty feared someone might harm her, so he never showed her portrait to anyone. I sneered. So this is the real reason you insisted on bringing me into the palace. For 13 years in the Valley of Medicine Kings, they never asked after me. I wondered why they suddenly wanted to take me back. I grew distant from my parents, and soon after, I was married off to the Prince of Su's manor. On our wedding night, the emperor came in person. My head was covered with a wedding veil, and my hand was held in another man's palm. He clicked his tongue and said, "Why has my royal brother come?" Pei Lin walked over, patted his shoulder, and said, "We're brothers born of the same mother. On your wedding day, of course I must come." "You're right," he said. "I didn't want to marry. If you truly care for me as a brother, take this bride away. Go." I finally understood why Su Jinue and the Empress Dowager had reacted that way. This husband of mine turned out to be a hopeless good-for-nothing. Pei Lin sighed. "What nonsense are you saying? The women of the Chu family are known for their beauty. She's more than a match for you." Pei Chongfeng, right in front of him, was about to lift my veil. His voice was casual. "Ugly or pretty, we'll know once I take a look." The wedding hall instantly became lively. "Master, why must you do this?" "Xiaoxin, the bride won't let you into her bed tonight. The Chu family produces beauties. You can rest assured. I won't let you down. Bring your sister-in-law to find me for a meal sometime." Even Pei Lin stopped Pei Chongfeng's hand. Nonsense. Out of the corner of his eye, Pei Lin's hand was steady and firm, while Pei Chongfeng seemed to have no strength at all. As soon as he was caught, he cried out in pain. All right, I won't look." Entering the bridal chamber, the surroundings finally quieted down. Pei Chongfeng lifted my veil and glanced at me. Our eyes met. His gaze faltered for a moment, and after a long while, he spoke somewhat awkwardly. "You've ruined me. Do you know that last night, for your sake, Brother Jing specifically came to find me for a fight?" The candlelight flickered. I was a bit nervous, but hearing this, I inexplicably relaxed. I pursed my lips and began to seriously observe my new husband. He was wearing a bright red wedding robe, his brows handsome, his lips carrying a smile. He was tall, but his posture was not upright. His words were also unexpected. But no matter how I looked, I couldn't see any flaw on him. Perhaps sensing my thoughts, Chongfeng's gaze wandered for a moment. Then he cleared his throat and walked to the table, crossed his legs and sat down. "All right, I won't joke with you anymore. But your luck is really bad. Brother Jing Wang is such a good person, and he is deeply devoted to you. Why did he give you to me? His Imperial Majesty actually lost his head over a woman. He should." He was extremely eloquent. I had hardly spoken a word, and he had already said one thing after another. So I knew. He originally did not want to marry me, but Pei Lin was determined to go his own way, and even gave him his most precious red flame horse. Pei Chongfeng had coveted that horse for a long time, so he finally reluctantly agreed. And Lin did all this LT/Pro, ODGT, LT/. It was just because of Consort Shu's few tears. When it came to the end, Pei Chongfeng took a sip of tea. "By the way, what's going on between you and Prince Jing? He's usually so cold, but this is the first time I've seen him like this." I shook my head. "I don't know." Pei Chongfeng looked at me suspiciously, but I really had nothing to say. The Empress Dowager said Prince Jing is deeply in love with me, but in truth, we only traveled together for a short part of the journey back to the capital. We barely exchanged a few words. That night, Pei Chongfeng slept on the floor. he said. This is our first meeting. I can't just take advantage of you. I grew up in the Medicine King Valley, where the Valley Master was old and taciturn. During those 13 years, I only had herbs and the chirping of insects to keep me company. Over time, I became poor at expressing myself. This is the first time someone has spoken to me so much. I froze for a moment. Then I'm sorry you have to sleep here. Tomorrow we can switch. Hearing this, Pei Changfeng put his hands behind his head and glanced at me sideways. It's not for you. I've never liked sleeping on a bed since I was a child. I prefer the floor. I was speechless, never expecting someone of his noble birth to have such an unusual hobby. The next morning, Pei Changfeng was gone. According to the maidservants in the manor, he made an appointment to go horse racing. The maid's expression held a hint of reluctance as she hurriedly added, "The prince usually enjoys such pastimes. It's not that he's intentionally neglecting you." I didn't mind it at all. "It's fine, I was just asking." The manor was very quiet. The servants each had their duties. Pei Changfeng not only had no desire to marry, but he didn't even have any concubines. He didn't love beautiful women, nor did he harbor romantic feelings. It was clear that he was just a young man at heart, fond of fun and excitement. And being with me, indeed, there was nothing interesting. I played chess against myself all day long. At night, Pei Changfeng returned with a full smile, still holding a horsewhip in his hand. As he walked into the courtyard, he said to the servant boy beside him, "This horse is truly valiant. It hasn't disappointed my hopes," he said mid-sentence, then saw me and the chessboard before me. His smile abruptly stopped. "Why are you here?" he asked. Then, he clicked his tongue and said, "Sorry, I forgot I was married." He sat down across from me and said with great interest, "How can one play chess alone?" "I'll keep you company," I said, looking at him. "Sure." But after the time it takes one incense stick to burn, I knew I was wrong. His chess skills were abysmal, and he had no sense of sportsmanship. I just made a wrong move. Wait, let me redo it." I watched him quietly. The man gave an embarrassed smile. His Imperial Highness is accomplished in both civil and military arts, and his chess skills are second to none. Yours are not bad either. If there's a chance, I'll have him play a game with you. How about that? Finding a worthy opponent in chess is a joy in life, but the Imperial Highness he mentioned was none other than the current Emperor, Pei Lin. And between him and me, there was a rather unpleasant history. Feeling a bit awkward, I thought for a moment and changed the subject. "Speaking of which," I said, "2 years ago, I met someone whose chess skills were also excellent." Pei Changfeng raised an eyebrow, looking at me oddly. He twirled the white stone in his hand. I thought he would ask about that person's playing style, or who won between us. But instead, he just stared at me and asked, "Male?" I nodded instinctively. Pei Changfeng clicked his tongue. He spoke with an odd tone. Then he must be no match for his Imperial Highness. Pei Changfeng had always been carefree, leaving early and returning late each day, but I couldn't pinpoint when. He would find interesting trinkets for me, bring me my favorite osmanthus cakes, and brew my medicine. "You've always drunk this kind of medicine, it smells bitter." I shook my head. What I used to drink was even more bitter. In the past 2 years, as I've grown healthier, I've stopped. These are just the tonic pills the Valley Master prepared for me. Pei Changfeng thought for a moment. "My brother has a 9-section Ganoderma," he said. "It's rarely found in this world. If you take it, all your ailments will surely vanish." I had heard the Valley Master mention this herb before, but it had never been found over the years. I shook my head. "It's better not." But Pei Changfeng immediately went back to the room to change clothes and headed to the Imperial Palace. I sat in the courtyard waiting until a cool breeze began to blow. Pei Changfeng returned with a gloomy expression. The moment he saw me, he let out a heavy sigh. He called my name, so serious and without a trace of a smile for the first time in all the months since our marriage. When I went, Su Jinhua was also there. When she heard I wanted the Ganoderma, she said she felt chest tightness too. "Brother, Beilin Chou Su Hinjue." At this, Pei Changfeng viciously kicked the stone stool in front of him. Just a counterfeit. If not for my imperial brother being unable to find that person for so long, how could she be so arrogant? Under the moonlight, his voice was solemn. "Don't worry. Even through mountains of knives and seas of fire, the Lingji mushroom I promised you, I will definitely get it for you. I will definitely give it to you." I looked at him for a long while, then smiled softly. Actually, the osmanthus cake was very sweet. That was enough. Pei Chongfeng's expression flickered with surprise. He stared at me. Peach blossoms rustled down from above, landing on my shoulders and his crown. He raised his hand, paused by my side for a moment, but ultimately did nothing. He just spoke gloomily. This prince just feels that failing to snatch it from others is a bit embarrassing. Pei Chongfeng is a good person, and treats me well. Seeing that his birthday was approaching, to return the favor, I prepared to embroider a scented sachet for him. Aside from this, I couldn't think of anything else. His personal attendant told me, "Our prince doesn't care for gold, silver, or jade. He loves horses as much as life itself." However, the prince's scented sachet was lost not long ago, so he just so happens to need a new one. I went alone to the fabric shop, but just after picking out the materials and coming out, a carriage was coming straight at me. I couldn't dodge in time, and I thought to myself, this is trouble. I came out to deliver a gift, but now I'm going to be a burden to someone else. While my mind was racing, I was pulled into an embrace. Watching the carriage roar past, I was still dazed. I only saw, behind the person, several people on the upper floor shouting, "Don't! Careful!" So, he jumped straight down from the upper floor to save me? The long street was brightly lit. After calming down, I looked at the man who had appeared before me and finally spoke after a long moment. "It's you." The man showed no intention of letting me go. It's me." For some reason, I suddenly felt his voice was familiar, but just as the thought came, my train of thought was disrupted. How are you here? After we parted 2 years ago, I've been looking for you for a long time." I was stunned. This man was the same one who had played Go with me before. At that time, I was entrusted by the Valley Lord to deliver a letter to his old friend. On the way back to Medicine King Valley, I saw someone holding a chess gathering. If you won, there were 300 taels of silver. At that time, I had just had my purse stolen. Penniless, I played a game of chess with that person by the Chu River. From beginning to end, I knew neither his name nor spoke a word. In the end, I won by a narrow margin. Then I took the silver and left without looking back. "Why are you looking for me?" I asked, puzzled. He looked at me, his throat moving slightly. "Since that day we parted, you've haunted my dreams." Startled, I dropped the fabric in my hands, and it gathered dust in an instant. I had spent a long time picking out this pattern suitable for Pei Chongfeng, and now seeing it sullied, my heart ached terribly. I quickly picked it up. The man hurriedly said, "Sorry, I'll compensate you." I shook my head. "No need. You just saved my life." As I spoke, perhaps due to the recent scare, I couldn't help a soft cough, and my face paled. Seeing this, he frowned. "You're unwell." Before I could speak, he continued to himself. "Right, when I saw you 2 years ago, it was already April, yet you wore a cloak and looked terrible. But fortunately, I still have one." As he said this, he suddenly seemed to remember something, his voice stopping abruptly, and his face instantly turned ashen. I couldn't understand this man, even found him somewhat inexplicable. Seeing this, I had to say, "Thank you for saving me today, but young master, I am already married." The man opposite stood frozen in place, staring at me in disbelief. "Married?" I smiled. "Yes, I should go back. Someone is waiting for me." With that, I didn't wait for his reply and walked away while he remained rooted to the spot, as if he had been waiting there for centuries. When I returned to the manor, Pei Chongfeng was practicing swordsmanship. Seeing me, he twirled his sword and raised an eyebrow. Speaking of this nickname, I felt a bit helpless. A few days ago, I was painting the peach blossom tree in the courtyard, and he just stood by watching the whole time until the end. Until I awkwardly asked him if there was something on his mind, he finally spoke slowly. "Don't you think something is missing?" Puzzled, he suddenly broke off a peach branch. With a bold smile, he said, "What about painting me? Your excellent painting skills, my graceful swordplay. Together we are a perfect match." I held back my laughter and said, "All right." After finishing the painting, I was about to stand up, but my legs were numb and I nearly fell. He caught me, his large hand resting on my waist, and he instinctively called me Ahe. I looked up and met his eyes. A moment later, both of us blushed to the tips of our ears. From then on, he always called me that. Oh, and it didn't stop there. He actually stopped going out, stopped racing horses with others, and practiced swordplay here every day. We had chatted for a while in the yard when a guard hurried in from outside. "Your Highness, His Majesty summons you to the palace." Upon hearing this, Pei Chongfeng's expression turned extremely grim. Ever since the day he begged for the medicine, the relationship between the two brothers had become complicated beyond words. Pei Chongfeng never even mentioned the word imperial brother again. He stood up with a snort and walked out impatiently. Halfway, he suddenly turned back and said to me with a smile, "I'm going to the palace, Ahe." But I had been standing right next to him just now. I knew he was going to the palace. There was no need for him to mention it specially. But I still said, "I'll wait for you." As if he had been waiting for that exact phrase, he walked away grinning widely, showing his teeth.
So silly.
When Pei Chongfeng returned, it was already the hour of Su. He lay on the ground, looking pleased. That Su Jinhua had somehow made the emperor brother unhappy. He almost drew his sword to kill her. I was silent for a moment. "Then why did he summon you to the palace?" "Oh." He asked me to drink with him. He seemed especially troubled and sad, and kept saying things like he would snatch someone away. But I wasn't in the mood to bother with his mess, so I didn't ask much. I didn't think too much about it either. His behavior was like offering a stepping stone. "You brothers have reconciled." Pei Chongfeng awkwardly tugged at the blanket over him. His voice was very low. "I suppose so. Tomorrow is my birthday. He said he would hold a feast in the palace to celebrate for me, so I'll let it go. Besides, I've already found the second 9-section Ganoderma. In 2 days, someone will send it back to the capital. I don't care about his gift." I looked at him. "Such things are extremely rare. Did you spend gold, silver, land, or jade artifacts, Pei Chongfeng? What exactly did it cost you?" He interrupted me. "So what? I made a vow before you. A real man keeps his word. Ahe this night." I had finished embroidering that sachet. The moonlight was cold, and peach blossoms lay scattered across the courtyard. The next morning, Pei Chongfeng and I entered the palace. He went to find Pei Lin. As for me, I went to Xinang Palace. The Empress Dowager brought up Su Jinhua. I've never seen the Emperor so furious. Imperial consort Shu may never recover from this. But since she entered the palace, the Emperor has showered her with favor, granting her every wish. Back then, he couldn't find that girl, and it nearly became an obsession. Only seeing that face brought him some relief. Now he has suddenly turned against her. I suspect he has found that person. Perhaps he has even prepared the imperial decree and golden seal for making her empress. When the Empress Dowager finished speaking, I did not respond. She is the Emperor's adoptive mother and watched him grow up, so it's fine for her to say such things. But with my status, if I criticized the current emperor in Xinang Palace, even 9 lives wouldn't be enough. Soon after, I heard Pei Chongfeng's voice from outside the hall. "Ahe." Seeing this, the Empress Dowager smiled. "Chongfeng, this wife of yours, I am quite fond of her. And you, are you pleased to have married her?" The hall was thick with incense smoke. Pei Chongfeng smiled, his gaze open and honest. "Mother Empress," he said, "you know the answer, yet you ask." Leaving Xinang Palace, I gave the sachet to Pei Chongfeng. He took it, hung it at his waist, and said with a bright smile, "At this time next year, I will also embroider a sachet for you." We went together to the banquet and then took our seats. I saw Jing Wang. I had only recently learned that this cold and taciturn Jing Wang was not actually in an enviable position. His birth mother was of low status, and he had no imperial favor. Since childhood, he had suffered much more than the other princes. And at this moment, he was seated at the feast. Seeing me and Pei Chongfeng, he pressed his lips together slightly, then averted his gaze. On the way here earlier, I had heard that just a few days ago, he had rejected a very good marriage proposal. I heard someone secretly matched his birth chart, and it turned out to be a fate of solitude and hardship for life. Ahe, try this." Beside me, Pei Chongfeng picked up a piece of pastry and handed it to me. My thoughts returned. Not long after, the Son of Heaven entered from outside. Without looking sideways, he walked step by step to the high platform, then raised his wine glass, a smile spreading across his face as he looked at Pei Chongfeng. "Chongfeng, today is your birthday. The Emperor wished us a harmonious union for 100 years.
As he spoke, his gaze fell on me.
I froze in place, not because of anything else, but because I had only seen this emperor, who held great power, on the street just yesterday. He had even saved me and said to me, "Since we parted back then, you have haunted my dreams." At this moment, even if I were as dense as a rock, I would have realized the person his heart yearned for so painfully was actually me. But Pei Lin, being the emperor, was nothing if not composed. In just a brief moment, he averted his gaze and finished that sentence without changing his expression. A harmonious union for 100 years, a life of barely a century. After speaking, he sat down and didn't glance this way again. I clutched my palms. They were completely soaked with sweat. Just then, someone looked at Pei Chongfeng and me and teased in a loud voice, "Prince Su, you haven't come out to enjoy yourself with us for quite a while. Before today, I was curious about what you've been up to. Now I know you've acquired a fine steed." Having just won a beauty, he's feeling quite pleased with himself. Although today's banquet is held in the palace, most of the guests are Pei Chongfeng's peers. When someone says something like this, anyone would hear it as nothing more than a harmless joke. Upon hearing this, Pei Chongfeng smiled. "I'll find time another day to gather with you all." Then, a crisp, light crack interrupted everything. Pei Chongfeng's words stopped abruptly. Everyone looked up toward the head of the table, only to see the cup in the emperor's hand had shattered into several pieces. Someone asked nervously, "Your Majesty, are you feeling unwell?" Pei Chongfeng frowned, silently gazing at Pei Lin without saying a word. After a long moment, Pei Lin finally chuckled softly. He lowered his eyes, carelessly wiping the wine stains on his hand with a handkerchief. "No harm. I was just thinking of that horse, it's a pity." While some revel in triumph, others lose both a fine steed
and a beauty.
I lowered my gaze, no longer looking at Pei Lin. But I suddenly recalled that night when Pei Chongfeng returned drunk from the palace and told me that Pei Lin planned to snatch someone back. Yet I thought, he is the emperor. Even if he rules the 4 seas, I am already married. Even if he's resentful, I suppose he won't do anything. The following days were relatively peaceful, but perhaps it was just my imagination. Life in the manor became much tighter. I even overheard servants whispering that this month's wages were 5 days late. But I knew from the moment I married him that my husband, though he seemed like a dandy, actually owned many shops and was extremely wealthy. So I understood that in order to find medicine for me, he had almost exhausted his fortune. I took the 9-section Ganoderma that Pei Chongfeng had someone procure. He asked me nervously, "How is it? Any better?" I laughed. "It doesn't work that fast." He sighed. "All right, I'll wait." However, in less than half an hour, he asked again, "And now?" I looked at his handsome face. Over these 2 months, we had grown close bit by bit. He played chess with me, bought me osmanthus cakes, and went to great lengths to find the 9-section Ganoderma. My own parents only knew how to use me. Aside from the Valley Lord, he was the first person to treat me so well. Such deep kindness would be hard to repay in a lifetime. I asked him, "Is it because you have no silver that you haven't been going out to play these days?" Pei Chongfeng smiled wryly. "What are you thinking?" He didn't say that he had spent the entire day racing horses. He returned in high spirits, only to see his newly wedded wife playing chess against herself in the empty courtyard. He had lived a lively life all along, surrounded by splendor, never knowing the taste of sorrow. In that moment, his heart unexpectedly ached. It was merely that he couldn't bear to see her lonely. That day, he took me to the Grand Princess's residence to admire flowers. He was in excellent spirits. "This orchid was just brought back from Bianzhou by Aunt. It's extremely precious. Take a look. Does it resemble the ones you've seen before? If you like it, I'll ask Aunt for it." I glanced at it. It was truly beautiful. It was as beautiful as the ones in the Medicine King Valley. I thought for a moment and was about to speak when a voice came from the winding path. "Do you like it? I can give you one too." Pei Chongfeng's body stiffened. He looked at the newcomer in disbelief. "Elder brother, why are you butting in?" Pei Lin ignored him. His gaze swept past the sachet at Pei Chongfeng's waist, then calmly looked at me. I bowed and said, "If I, your servant, liked it, would the prince give it to me?" Pei Chongfeng's expression gradually softened, and he replied, "Indeed." Pei Lin frowned at me for a long moment, then said, "Oh, is that so?" Not long after, it was noon, and the Grand Princess invited Pei Chongfeng and me to stay for lunch. As for Pei Lin, he said he felt unwell and rested in the side chamber. I breathed a sigh of relief. For some reason, I was a little afraid of him. I had already made up my mind that when I returned today, I would tell Pei Chongfeng about my past with Pei Lin. Pei Lin was his elder brother, and I was his lawfully wedded wife. My heart was clear, and these matters shouldn't have been hidden from him. But just as we were halfway through the meal, a serving maid spilled tea on my dress. Seeing this, the Grand Princess smiled and said, "There are clothes in the west side chamber. Go change into them." Pei Chongfeng wanted to accompany me, but the Grand Princess stopped him. What could possibly happen in my palace? You and I, aunt and nephew, haven't spoken in a while. Sit down and keep me company. I followed the maid through the corridor, past the pavilion, and arrived at a courtyard. I went in and found the clothes. Just as my hand touched my sash, someone let out a soft sigh. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." I turned around and saw Pei Lin walking out from behind the screen. He said, "You rarely leave the mansion, and every time you go out, you go with Pei Lin." I finally managed to find this opportunity. I pursed my lips and stepped back warily. The elder princess knows as well. Pei Lin shook his head. "I only told her I wanted to talk about Chongfeng with you, and she agreed to help." Before the marriage, Pei Chongfeng was a complete novice in matters of love. The elder princess hoped that Chongfeng and I would be a loving couple and thought Pei Lin wanted to tell me how to win Chongfeng's heart. But she didn't know. All of this was just Pei Lin's excuse. His true intentions were unspeakable. I asked, "What do you want?" He was stunned for a moment, then raised an eyebrow. "You don't need to be like this. I'm no lecher. I just wanted to apologize. That day, kneeling for so long must have hurt. And the 9-section Ganoderma. I didn't know it was for you." I remained silent. He continued, his voice hoarse. If I had known you were a woman of the Chu clan, I would never have given you to Chongfeng. If on the night of your wedding, I had let him lift your veil in front of all the guests, then I wouldn't have taken one wrong step after another. Now I regret it to the point of heartbreak. These past days, in the dead of night, as soon as he closes his eyes, all he sees is that bamboo slip inscribed with the words Prince Su and the countless wedding window decals inside the Prince Su's mansion. I said, "But we are already married. I am your sister-in-law." "So what?" he sneered. "Chongfeng has always been carefree and unrestrained, with a love for fine horses above all. I got him to marry you with just one horse. 2 days ago, I sent men far and wide to search for rare steeds. By then, I'll trade 100 horses for you. I think he'll agree." His words fell, and I stood frozen in place. Would he? Pei Chongfeng and I have been married for only 2 months. He has already done so much for me. If I asked him to give up his greatest love for me, would he be willing? But just as I thought this, the door was kicked open. From a very close distance, I saw Pei Chongfeng glaring into the room with a ferocious expression. His face was full of mockery and sneering. He stepped forward, grabbed Pei Lin by the collar, and threw a punch. I was startled and about to stop him, but Pei Lin let out a soft laugh. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "Chu Sanyang, you go out." Then he turned to Pei Chongfeng. "My younger brother has grown up. He has something he cares about now, and is willing to bear his claws for it. I am pleased." Pei Chongfeng said coldly, "Stop pretending. You were the one who drove Ahe out of the palace. You were the one who gave the Ganoderma to someone else. Now you say you regret it. It's far too late. How shameless can you be? Let me tell you, not even 100 horses, not even 1,000 would make me change my mind. Even if I never touch a horse for the rest of my life, so be it." After that, he took a deep breath and said to me, "Ahe, go wait outside for me, okay?" Both of their gazes fell on me at the same time, the former with deep, heavy eyes, the latter with tenderness. I nodded and said, "I'll wait for you." A loud commotion came from inside the room. After quite a while, Pei Chongfeng finally came out. His forehead and the corners of his lips were swollen and red from the beating. He walked over, took my hand, and said, "Let's return to the manor." The man inside also spoke. "My request, if you truly can fulfill it." "She is truly your wife." Pei Chongfeng's lips tightened. I knew that Pei Chongfeng and Pei Lin had made a bet. The northern desert had been plagued by war for years. 3 days later, Pei Chongfeng would lead the troops on an expedition. If he could return victorious, it would be his win. Surprisingly, the day after the news spread, Prince Jing also entered the palace to request permission to accompany Pei Changfeng. Initially, Pei Lin did not allow it, but Prince Jing refused to leave if he didn't agree. Without a choice, he had to nod. The night before their departure, Pei Changfeng and I still shared a room. But this time, I moved my body inward. The floor is cold. Come sleep up here. In the darkness, Pei Changfeng's body stiffened for a moment. After a long silence, he said, "Let's talk about it when I return, all right?" No words were exchanged that night. The next day, when I went to see Pei Changfeng off, I saw Prince Jing. He had probably informed Pei Changfeng beforehand that he wanted to say goodbye to me. Pei Changfeng rode his horse to a short distance away. These words were known only to Prince Jing and me. He said, "Miss Chu, may I call you that?" I nodded. He continued, "On the way back to the capital. I was injured and you treated me. I helped you drive away the bandits so we can consider each other as half-friends. Back then, I heard that the emperor was going to bestow you upon someone, and I was afraid you would marry the wrong person. That's why I rashly asked for your hand in marriage. But at that time, I thought that if you truly married me, I would plant a medicinal herb garden for you and buy you a few shops. I don't have much, but I can give it all to you. Even if you don't want to be husband and wife with me, we can still be companions for life." I pursed my lips, my heart a mix of emotions. He smiled again. "But now, seeing that your marriage is happy, I am very glad." I smiled at him. After thinking for a moment, I took out the peace talisman I had prayed for yesterday. I had prayed for two, and I gave one to Changfeng. This one I originally planned to keep for myself, but now I want to give it to you. He was stunned for a moment, then reached out and took it. "Thank you." After saying that, he mounted his horse, and his figure gradually faded into the distance. I was brought into the palace to keep the Empress Dowager company. This was Pei Lin's idea, and Pei Changfeng had agreed. He was willing to trust his elder brother one last time. He was afraid that once he left, the prince's manor would be empty. I would face difficulties. My parents came to see me a few times, but I did not meet them. As time passed, they stopped coming. I also saw Consort Shu once. She danced in the imperial garden. When she saw me, she nearly tripped. She came over and said, "That day I saw your face, I knew I absolutely couldn't let you enter the palace. I never expected that the one in his heart. It really was you." I said, "I should thank you instead. I had no intention of entering the palace anyway." Consort Shu laughed and cried at the same time. "My most glorious and my most miserable moments were all because of you. I don't even know if I should hate you or not." Before she could finish, Pei Lin interrupted. He walked over slowly, frowning, and ordered the attendant eunuch, "Quickly take Consort Shu back to Lanting Palace. From now on, if there's no reason, don't let her wander about freely." After Consort Shu was led away, he turned to me and said softly, "A new batch of silks and jewels has arrived in the palace. I'll have them sent over. See if there's anything you like." I shook my head. "That's not necessary." His expression darkened. A long moment later, he said, "Do you think he can win?" I didn't answer, but I believed in Pei Changfeng. Pei Lin came to see me every day. As time passed, others inevitably noticed something was off. The Empress Dowager asked me in private, "The young lady he's been searching for, it's you, isn't it?" I nodded. The Empress Dowager sighed. The emperor had been stubborn since childhood, but there is no cure for regret in this world. The eldest princess entered the palace and argued with Pei Lin right in front of me. "So that was your plan that day. Lin, are you mad? She is your younger brother's wife. You sent Changfeng to Mabe and brought Chu, he into the palace. This is defying the world's norms." Pei Lin pursed his lips. "I don't care. I just want one person. I've wanted her for years. Is that wrong?" The eldest princess said, "Of course it's wrong. You have worked diligently and done so much for the people. But if you truly take someone else's wife by force, how will future historians write about you? Whom does your action honor?" After the eldest princess left, Pei Lin was silent for a long time. He stood in the hall and closed his eyes. After a long while, he said, "Today, news came from Mabe. Changfeng has gone missing." Hearing this, I nearly lost my footing. He smiled bitterly. "You think I was wrong too, don't you?" I was silent for a moment, then met his gaze. "Otherwise, Pei Lin? In truth, you don't have to be fixated on me, do you? Palin instinctively retorted. Nonsense. I searched for you. I interrupted softly. If you were truly determined to have me, then why did you bring in Lady Shu? A substitute. You call that being fixated on me? But once you found her, you couldn't devote yourself wholeheartedly to her, merely because she resembles me more. Is it the person you love, or the face? You have wronged her, too. Speaking of which, I smiled faintly. You keep saying you regret it, lamenting that it's too late. But ask yourself, even if you had found me first, even if that day you had indulged Pei Chongfeng in lifting the bridal veil, could you truly cherish me forever? Could you truly make me irreplaceable? There is no one more like me than myself. But if someday someone offered mountains of gold, cities, or things you yearn for more in your heart in exchange for me, dare you say you would never agree? Seeing his lips move as if to speak, I lifted my gaze to him. Don't say you would never. That day, you wanted to exchange me for 100 fine stallions with Chongfeng, simply because you thought, everything can be replaced, including me. Isn't that so? You regret it, you lament it, you can't understand. But even if you repeated our meeting 1,000 times, no matter who comes first, I would still choose him, because in his heart, I am different. You'd better pray that nothing happens to him. With that, I turned and left, ignoring Pei Lin's pale face behind me. Without Chongfeng, we would never have had a relationship. For several days afterward, I never saw Pei Lin again, and there was no news of Pei Chongfeng. Every moment felt like sitting on pins and needles. Fortunately, on the 7th day, the Grand Princess came to the palace and told me that Pei Chongfeng had returned. Prince Jing had personally risked danger to rescue him. Beyond that, they had routed the enemy forces completely. He should return to the capital in a few days. I breathed a sigh of relief. On the day before Pei Chongfeng's return, I saw Pei Lin again. He was holding a chessboard, his expression gloomy. Play one more game with me. How about it? Outside the hall, wind and rain lashed. We sat opposite each other, and by dawn, we would decide the outcome. He won. He placed his hand on the chessboard. 2 years ago, I played against 100 people by the Chu River, and you were the only one who won. But when I came to my senses and wanted to talk to you, you had already left. I said softly, now you've won again. He looked up, his voice hoarse. But I feel no joy. Get a good sleep. You'll see him tomorrow. Early the next morning, I left the palace. On the long street, the soldiers were just returning to the city. Watching from afar, the one at the front, he had grown thinner and darker, and at his waist hung the sachet I had made with my own hands. My young man had finally become capable of standing on his own. Seeing me, he raised his eyebrows, spurred his horse, and galloped over. He extended his hand to me. Under the sun, his expression carried a hint of cautiousness and some pride. Ah, hey, let's go home.